discuss these two, this one and this one. Others I will skip. So here our goal is to design a code which can be used in the variable systems. Okay, these variable systems are there now. Your goal is that should I just use a simple CPU or should I use a GPU? Should I use a DSP? What should I use? What are the constraints? And even if I use a CPU, should I use it as it is or should I do some optimization on that? So this is the summary of this paper. Okay, so please try to remember these points. These are the batteries capacities. A smartwatch battery may have a capacity of this. Okay, milliampere hour, and it has this. Okay, so almost 8 times higher. That's why when the area is reduced, like smartphone area is probably this, and smartwatch area is this. Okay, so everything scales down. Your battery capacity also scales down. Okay, and every time, all the time, you're holding it in your hand, so it can't be very heavy also, right? You can't allow your smartwatch to become very heavy. So that is another constraint, weight. That's why you have to make a right choice of core type, core count, and their capability, because you can't afford to spend any extra power. So these authors, they have studied the characteristics of variables to find the optimal core design. Okay, so first of all, they find out which workload should be studied. So they design their own benchmark suite, which has 10 applications which frequently run on variables. Okay, and they have strict QoS requirement. So anybody remembers the full form of QoS? We have discussed this. Yes.
Quality of service.
Quality of service.
Very good, very good. Quality of service. Yeah. So because it is directly user-facing application, right? You can't say that okay, result will come 5 minutes late. It's not possible. You have to give the result immediately. If somebody is using, okay, where should I navigate and so on. I don't like smartwatch and so on. I don't like so much electronics, but people who are using it, right, they must be using, they're paying for it, they're purchasing it, so they need instant services. So it has very strict QoS requirement. And anything which is user-facing, that means the user is directly using it, that has a high QoS requirement. These applications, they're called VRBench. The workload is called VRBench. Now it has these 10 applications, speech to text. Now you can just like think from a normal perspective. What are the typical things a person will do with his smartwatch? He may play some music, he may do some image classification, face recognition, image denoising, image compression, and something to do with natural language processing, something with video rendering. Okay, so that's why they have chosen very common applications which may run on a smartwatch. Now, what are the characteristics of these applications? Most of these applications are parallel. And because they are parallel, that means they can benefit from using multiple cores. Okay. So first requirement we get is whatever core we have, it should be a multi-core processor. They are data and computation intensive, but they don't have a lot of control operations. So where did we see the word again control? Where we taken into account that okay, we should have to optimize not only multimedia applications but control operations also. Anybody remembers? In which accelerator design we discussed this point? That we need a processor which can do not just multimedia but control also. Make a guess or see your presentations, PPTs. Hemkant, Priyansh?
So in VLIW, we were discussing there was a control, like if else choices.
Not VLIW, but you are very close. You are very close.
Sir, and I think TPU version 2 also we were using very little control space. Sir.
No, yeah, that is, but they, okay, yeah, they are very good. The area that TPU chip dedicates to control is very small. Fine, very good. But there was one processor which accounts that okay, these applications will have control. TPU applications don't have control. But what are the case? Make a guess. So Priyansh's answer is very close. Yeah, Krishna.
So Snapdragon processor, what we were studying, sir.
Snapdragon?
The mobile processor, what we were studying, sir.
Mobile processor. Which mobile processor? Okay, you are also close. What is the name you talk? What is the name you spoke? Which processor name?
So Snapdragon.
Yes, Snapdragon. You are right. Qualcomm's Hexagon DSP.
Yes, sir.
Qualcomm's Hexagon DSP. So now I hope everybody knows, right? Hexagon DSP. There we had that DSP, and the objective with that was DSP should be able to do both control code and multimedia code. So for multimedia code, we have the vector engines, and for control code, we have the scalar threads or scalar engine. Okay. Now here these are not control intensive, so we don't need a DSP. They have high L1 data cache miss rate. Now these applications have vector operations. That's why cache misses have a huge crucial impact on the performance. So based on this, they designed the course. Now, why not DSP? First question. That's why I told it. Why not DSP? So DSP is a VLAW core for audio video processing, which is very good because a smartwatch also needs to do audio video processing. Now, DSP such as Qualcomm's Hexagon DSP, which I've discussed, it uses 3 threads. Okay. In fact, I think there we discussed 4 scalar threads, out of which one can control the vector context, and 3 can work separately. That's why probably here it mentions 3. So because you have multiple threads, you can tolerate memory latency, and you can also handle the conditional code. So this control code means conditional code. Wherever we have this branch condition, if-else condition, that's the meaning of control code. So because it has 3 threads, you can tolerate that. However, DSPs don't support multiprocessing in hardware or software because they have only one core. Okay. DSP workloads are not that parallel because they have only one core. So DSPs also do not support fine-grained parallelism. So parallelism is important for minimizing latency of applications here. That's why DSP is not preferred. So main limitation of DSP is that it doesn't exploit the parallelism. Right? DSPs focus so much on just like 1 or 2 threads. Here we don't have multiple cores. All we have just one core. That one core has 3 threads, but we don't have more than one core. Now that's why they have chosen to use a CPU core. Okay. Is it clear till now? Any questions till now? See, a smartwatch is quite similar to a smartphone, I mean, to some degree. That's why first thing which will come in our mind is why not use DSP because it is so good in Qualcomm's mobile phones. That's why this is eliminated. So now that's why let us come back to CPU. The smartwatch needs to use multiple simple cores to exploit parallelism because we said that we need multiple cores. Okay. We need multiple cores because these applications are parallel. So let us use 4 cores. Now, very briefly, I have introduced about in-order core, out-of-order core. So an in-order core is stored on each cache miss, and where branch applications they have high data cache misses. That's why they use a partial out-of-order core. That means it is neither fully in order, neither fully out of order. It is in between. So it doesn't have some of the features of that. And this less, I'm not going to which features are avoided because I have not fully discussed out of order architecture. It is less complicated than a full out of order core because it does not use speculation or renaming. It has a smaller L2 cache. Again, I have not discussed what is speculation. Speculation I have discussed, and that was part of the out of order core. And renaming and all I have not discussed, but so that's why you're not going to fully understand it. But so that's why the point is we have to use CPU cores, 4 of them, but we don't want to use fully out of order core. We don't want to use fully in order core, but let us use in between. And that's the intelligence of these researchers. They have applied. Okay, what is that in between approach? So scoreboarding is not enough for reaching the performance. So see here they are using scoreboarding, but they are avoiding speculation and renaming. So some performance loss happens. So to overcome that performance loss, they also perform prefetching. Okay, at the by using software-assisted hardware prefetching. So they have shown. Again, I'm not going into more details of how to do that, but I hope you understand the term prefetching. Prefetching means that even before some data is requested, just a minute, let me complete the last question. Prefetching means that, see, when the core needs the data, it will ask for the data. But sometimes you know that, okay, in future I will need that data. So before itself, you issue the access and you fetch the data and keep it. Right? Suppose somebody's birthday is coming, you want to give them a gift. So on the day, you can't issue that order and then that thing will come 2 days after that. You may order it before itself so that it arrives before the birthday or your exam day, whatever it is. So that's an example of prefetching. You foresee the future need and you issue that request and the data comes in time. Yes, Subham. Question. Okay, no question. So then they show that this prefetching improves performance and is better than just a simple hardware prefetching. Now here are the results. So they have compared the result with an in-order core, Cortex A7, and one out-of-order core, which is Cortex A15. So compared to both of them, they achieve higher area normalized performance. That means this is the metric of performance. If they just see the performance per unit area, that is higher for their core. Similarly, energy efficiency, that means how much performance for each watt of power that they consume, how much performance they get. So that is also better for their design. Okay, so now you see, right, how intelligently they have brought the features of both in order and out of order. If you use in order, okay, performance is very poor. If you use out of order, performance is good, but area is also very, very high. That's why they very intelligently combine the features of both so that they excel in both the matrices. Okay. Now, the second and the last technique that I'm going to review here is hardware that is used by Facebook in data centers. So if you remember the previous presentation that I discussed, there it was for mobile phone. Okay, how a particular company can make sure that their app is highly optimized on mobile phones of all the users. Now here they're managing their data centers and how they're managing it. Let us see. Okay, now any company, okay, and any company may have many machine learning algorithms, right? They are providing some services to the end user, okay, such as advertisement, newsfeed, search, text understanding, translation, speech recognition, face recognition, user matching, and so on. So these services are supported by some machine learning model. Okay. So now how do we manage them properly on the data center? So this is their machine learning flow. So some of the things run only on CPU. Some other things, again, inference runs only on CPU. Training happens both on CPU and GPU. Okay, so that's right. So now you can see that it's not that just researchers are talking, even big companies are talking about using both CPU and GPU. Okay, so now here is the U, the factor U has come again. So they have a single socket. So again, this U is the height, okay? The height of this. Height of this is measured in terms of U. Okay, so in fact, today we are configuring your server. Sometime if you come to campus, you can see. No, I mean, we have a 42U rack and we're putting many servers there. So that is the U factor. Now here, they have two types of servers. One is single socket CPU, which supports web applications. It has a power efficient CPU. So this is a Broadwell single socket CPU. Which relatively, it has small memory and storage. And it also has a dual socket, so that's shown as 2x, which can be Skylake or Broadwell EP. It has a higher memory capacity so that it can support memory and compute intensive applications. So this is the example of a dual socket Xeon. This is the single socket Xeon. Okay. Now let's see how do they do training. So some of the models they are trained on CPUs. Some models they are trained on GPU, and some models are trained on both CPU and GPU. Okay, and here you can see the main point you have to see is that why these decisions are made. Okay, it's not arbitrary, this on CPU, this on GPU, because some things need to be trained daily. Okay, because news feed. So some models may have a lot of training need. Now FASER, because you train a model for some images, then you may encounter more images. Then after some more images, you again train it so that your model does not become outdated or obsolete. That's why after every n images. LUMOS, I don't know what this is, but it is after many months, it needs to be trained. Such depends on our way it is trained. Language translation is weekly. Sigma switching, they are taking sub daily. That means even every day you train it after a few hours. So that's why they, depending on the other training frequency. So the whole point here you can see, right? Something which needs very infrequent training, you train it on GPU. But something, or here weekly GPU, and multi-monthly GPUs. Okay, but if something needs to be trained very frequently, then you should use CPU also. Okay, if you need to train something very, very frequently, you need CPU also. So here's an example for FASER. Generic model is trained on GPUs. A user-specific model is trained on CPUs. When sufficiently new number of images have been generated. Because see, everybody needs some training, right? Suppose you become expert in English. After you find out, oh, there are some more technical words which have appeared. I should learn. I should improve my English. So similarly, any model needs to improve after some time. So, and GPU is primarily used for offline training. So, and already we have a lot of number of CPUs, so we can use them for deep learning, especially off-peak hours. So, because if you don't keep on training, then what will happen? You may pass off some wrong news or ads or offensive contents, or you may not be able to block the spam. So because spam creators, they are designing very, very intelligent spam, right? Malware designers, they are designing very, very intelligent malware. So all the anti-malware companies or antivirus companies, they have to always keep on improving their software. Similarly here, if you don't keep on improving your software, some wrong content will pass, and then you have to pay legal fines and so on. And they also have technique for distributing your training on CPU and GPU. Now, this was inference. Right? Till now, we were talking 3 slides on training. Now, let's talk about inference. Now, different services have different memory and computation requirements. For example, ads ranking. So, why will you need ad ranking? Can you just think out of the box without my telling anything? Why need ad ranking? What is the meaning of it? If I tell you the word ad ranking, what do you understand from this? Yes.
Which ad should be shown first? Which ad
yes,
should be
yeah.
shown?
Which ad is the most relevant? Which ad is the most relevant here for this person to see based on the content that he is interacting with? So here you may do multiple rounds of screening to finally decide, okay, this ad is the best. So now it has certain sparse embedding layer. Because it is sparse, the data reuse is very, very poor. That's why it needs high amount of memory. That's why in the later round, when the memory footprint becomes even higher, they are executed on a different server. So initial rounds may be on one server, later rounds may be on a different server. So inference is mostly done on CPUs. And this single socket CPU, they are cheaper. They have higher energy efficiency. That's why they're preferred, right? We should not unnecessarily use dual socket CPU unless we really need them. So here you can see wherever the memory requirement is high, we use dual socket. Wherever the memory requirement is low, we use single socket. Okay. Some services, they can be run on the powerful mobile devices to the end user itself. That means some services are there which can be done on the mobile itself. That means from mobile, they are not coming to data center at all. Here we are talking about data center management. if somebody has a very high power mobile phone, they can themselves run it without sending that to the data center. And this dual socket CPUs are required for running bulky services like this newsfeed, language translation, speech recognition. Okay. So there's one more paper from the same company, but I'm not discussing that.